of us for joining today. We are hit the ground running with Clio. Before we get started, I just want to say how excited we both are to be here today. Whose first ClioCon is it? Lots of hands. That is amazing. So us as well. As you can see, we're newbies this year, so we're really feeling the energy after the keynote. Really excited about everything that Jack had to announce today. So a little bit about us here. So I'm Bronwyn, as Brittany mentioned. I'm part of the sales team as a sales development representative. Essentially what that means is over the last 8 months of my time here at Clio, if you signed up for a trial, requested a demonstration, I may have actually been one of your first contacts here. So I think I have one of the coolest jobs. I get to learn all about your firms, hear your stories, and help you determine if Clio is going to be a really good fit for you. We're going to be spending the next hour together, so fun fact about me, I am obsessed with the outdoors. I love hiking in the summer, skiing in the winter, so much so that I actually moved to a really small town in BC with about 40 people that was a little ski resort and spent most of my time on the slopes. If you've got any great stories, recommendations of ski hills to hit up, come and see me after. I'm here with Nadia today.
Thanks, Bronwyn. So my name is Nadia. As Brittany mentioned, I'm a customer success trainer at Clio. So I work with brand new Clio customers. I've been with the company for about 2 years now. So if any of you have signed up for Clio in the last couple of years, then chances are I might have led a training session for your firm. And since we're doing fun facts here, I absolutely love to travel. One of the most recent trips I've been on, and one of my most favorite trips actually, was a trip to South America a couple years back. So if any of you have been, or if you also love to travel, come see me later in the Smart Bar, and we can share travel stories.
So what are we really doing here today? We're going to be introducing you to the Settings tab within Clio, talking a little bit more about what our goal is for the day. Then we're going to be going through who the office manager is, introduce you to Jeff, which is kind of our protagonist or our hero for the day, and then going through some of our settings. So going through firm settings, matter settings, activity settings, finish off with touching on reporting, and then open the floor up for questions and answers. So the Settings tab. You might be thinking, ooh, that seems a bit dry. Do we really have to sit and listen to that for an hour?
Please
don't
walk
leave.
out on us.
It's actually one of the most important things that you first do when you get your Clio account, making sure your account is set up. So we're going to go through some best practices to create efficiencies, making sure you're optimizing your workflow, and really getting the most out of your Clio account from day one. If you already have your account set up, don't worry, you're going to learn lots today and get even more value starting from today. So the office manager. Obviously, this is valuable for everybody, but we started thinking, who's going to get the most out of their session today? And we're going to introduce you to, like I said, our bit of a hero for the day. This is Jeff. Jeff is a firm office manager for a family law firm of 2 attorneys and 3 support staff. Fun fact about Jeff, he is a die-hard sports fan. Doesn't matter the type of sport, he'll create the fantasy leagues, make sure the firm's all on track with that side of things as well. So who is Jeff? He wears so many different hats at the firm. He goes through receptionist responsibilities, marketing responsibilities, and he spends a lot of his time on admin tasks. What does his day look like? He gets in the office, checks emails, sends out any approved invoices to clients. Throughout the day, he really keeps the attorneys on track. Lots of data entry, and prepares and shares documents. And at the end of the day, he has a final meeting with the attorney, sits down, goes over the day that they just had, prepares for the day ahead, makes sure everyone's on track. He's one of the most important people at the firm. And what does he care about the most? He wants to ensure that the attorneys reduce the time they spend on non-billable tasks. Now, that might be something that you think is kind of self-explanatory, that anybody should be thinking about. But in our legal trends report that Jack just introduced you to, if you're new to the story of our legal trends report, we saw that in an 8-hour day, only 2.4 hours are spent on billable tasks, which means that's only 30% of your day.
30%, that's quite low.
I know, it's shockingly low. So that's what our session is about today, talking you through things that you can get set up right away to make sure you're spending the most time on billable tasks as possible.
I got my own here.
Oh,
thank you.
You got your own.
All right, so through the rest of the session here, we'll be talking to Jeff, And we'll be reviewing this giant wish list that he gave us. And on this wish list, he's got a whole bunch of items that he wants to solve for that he knows can help everyone in his firm reduce their time spent on non-billable tasks. So why don't we dive right in here. As Bronwyn alluded to earlier, we'll be spending a lot of our time in the Settings tab, so Firm Settings, also known as the Settings tab. First item on Jeff's wish list here is he wants to ensure that all the timekeepers in his firm are tracking their time as efficiently as possible. So we can help Jeff out with this by setting up a default billing rate in Clio. So if some of you are brand new to Clio, or maybe you've just started using it, you'll notice that when you have a brand new account, the default billing rate is set to 0. And if you leave it at 0, that means you have to change it every time, which is quite inefficient. So why don't we set up that default billing rate? From within the main Settings tab, let's click on Manage Users on the top left-hand side. And this is a list of all the users in Jeff's Clio account. We can see here that April at the top does not have a default billing rate set yet. So let's click on Edit underneath her name. And from here, we can scroll down all the way to the bottom to that section that says Billing Rate. And from here, let's add in a default billing rate of $250 an hour.
So how does Jeff know that that's the right billing rate to set up for his firm? Is there any way to know that that's competitive?
That's actually a really great question. And that's a question all of you should be asking yourselves as well, as I'm sure you'd like to know whether or not your default or your current billing rate is competitive. We have a great resource that can help out with this as part of our Legal Trends Report of 2018. It's called the Compare Legal Rate Calculator, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But you can find it from our main Clio website. Just click on the Resources tab at the very top, and there's a section that says Compare Legal Rates. From there, you can enter in your current billing rate, the state where you practice, and then your practice area of law as well. And that will allow you to draw information from our Legal Trends Report and compare your rate against other legal professionals in the United States.
Awesome. So if Jeff does all of that, sees that his rate's a little bit lower, he might be able to make a bit more money for the firm as well.
That's it exactly, yeah.
Awesome.
So let's go ahead and save this default billing rate. Bear in mind here, this is just the default billing rate. So we do have matter-based rates and client-based rates as well that you could set at either the matter or the client level. All right, first item checked off. So let's move on to the second one. This is all about custom fields. So this is one of my favorite features in Clio. I get really excited about them. It allows you to capture any custom information outside of both the contact and the matter defaults that Clio already provides. This can help Jeff out because there's a lot of information unique to his firm that he wants to capture. So since we know that he works at a family law firm, there's a few pieces of information pertaining to his divorce cases that he wants to see at the matter level. So the first is whether or not his clients have children, and the second is what the date of separation is. So let's go help him set that up. From within the main Settings tab, let's click over to Custom Fields. Whoop, there we go. Thank you. All right, Custom Fields on the top left-hand side. From here, we can see we've got both matter custom fields and contact custom fields. So since we know we'd like to see this information at the matter level, we'll leave that bolded and underlined for now. And we can head to the right-hand side to that green button that says Add. So from here, we can type in the information as we'd like it to appear. So since we'd like to indicate whether or not Jeff's clients have children, let's type in has children. And then underneath where it says type, let's go ahead and select checkbox.
So there's a lot of other options here. Could you explain to everybody why we would want to go through checkbox instead of something like a text box?
Great point, thank you. So when you're picking the custom field type, it's important to think about what kind of information you're recording and how you'd like it recorded. For example, whether or not somebody has children is limited to a simple yes or no. So if you choose a checkbox type, the answer will be yes or no. If you were to choose text one line, for example, that will allow for flexibility, meaning you can type in whatever you want every time, but you run the risk of other users in the firm perhaps spelling something wrong or leaving it blank or typing in something other than yes or no. And this will lead to data inconsistency and inaccurate reporting. So always think about the custom field types when you're setting this up. Underneath, we see two additional boxes, one that says default and one that says required. If you select default, that means you'll see that information on every single matter by default. If you don't select the box, that's fine. That means you just have to pull it in from the matter every time. So let's leave it unchecked for Jeff right now. And underneath, we don't want to select required either. That means we would have to fill in that information before we could save a new matter. So let's click that green button, Save. And from here, we'll add another custom field for date of separation. And where it says type here, I think we can all guess what we might need.
Date, maybe?
Yeah.
Anybody?
You got it? Perfect. All right, let's save that. And we're all done with custom fields, but we're not completely done yet. We do have another feature called custom field sets. So this will essentially allow you to bundle or group the individual custom fields that you've created together into a set. So this will allow you to pull in an entire group of custom fields into a matter or a contact, which is a little bit more efficient than doing it individually. So let's click on matter or custom field sets on the right-hand side there. And custom field sets are typically bundled together by practice area, but they are quite customizable. For Jeff, let's click on Add on the right-hand side. And then let's type in divorce, since we know these two fields pertain to his divorce cases. And now underneath, let's pull in those two individual fields we just created. And then we can click on Save. Now Jeff's all good to go. He can pull in this information whenever he needs to on the matter. One thing to bear in mind is custom fields can only be created by administrators in Clio. So they do have to be set up in advance. Once they've been created, anyone in the firm can use them. All right, so moving on through Jeff's wish list here. Here we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about data security. Jeff wants to make sure that he's maintaining the sensitivity of his client's data, which is a very fair ask, of course. Lucky for Jeff, Clio already has bank grade level security, but there are a few extra security features that we can help him add from his Clio account. So the first is all about strong passwords, and the second is called two-factor authentication, also known as two-step verification. So if we start off with strong passwords, what that means is you have the ability to enforce all of the users in your Clio account to set up a strong password. And when we say strong passwords, we don't mean, password 123 or I love Clio or your dog's name, whatever it may be. Strong passwords means lowercase letters, it means uppercase letters, numbers, symbols, a combination of all of these things. So to set this up from your Clio account, let's click on the security section from within the settings tab. And then we can click on password security. Did we lose our demo again? Okay. It's finicky, that one. Okay, so from here it's as simple as checking the box that says enforce strong passwords. Underneath, we see a section that says password expiry. This will allow you to enforce the users in your firm to change their password every 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, all the way up to 365. So let's select 90 for Jeff's firm. And then we can click on Update Password Security. We're all set up with strong passwords now. Let's talk about two-factor authentication. So what this does is add an extra layer of identification in addition to your Clio password by asking you to verify your identity in some other shape or form, such as from a mobile device. To set this up from Clio, let's click over to two-factor set on the top left there. And you will be prompted to log in once again with your Clio credentials. Doesn't take too long here. Does anyone currently have two-factor set up? Yeah, 1, 2, Phoebe? Perfect.
Oh, so we've checked off require strong passwords, so now it's going to make us require a strong password.
Oh, we probably shouldn't have checked that box.
We'll just use.
But the way that two-factor authentication works with Clio is by way of a mobile app called the Google Two-Factor Authentication app. So what that does is basically ask you to type in a 6-digit code that the mobile app will generate for you, that you type in after typing in your Clio password, therefore verifying your identity in a second format. So we're all good to go here. Mm-hmm. And it's another check of the box. Let's go ahead and do it. So from here, you can download the mobile app, the Google two-factor authentication app on your mobile device and follow the steps from there. Is anyone here using an iOS device? A few of you? Okay, so we do have some exciting news. As of very recently, if you're using the Clio mobile app for iOS, you can also enable two-factor authentication that way as well. So you do have to follow the exact same steps we just went through to set up the Google two-factor authentication app. Once that's done, whenever you log into Clio, you'll see a little screenshot that looks something like this. There we go. So as you can see here, you can still type in that 6-digit code by way of the Google two-factor authentication app if you wish, but instead, and this is a little bit faster, you can open up the Clio mobile app for iOS and simply tap yes to verify your identity. So once again, it is a little bit faster that way. That's all we have for security for now, and we know we've just scratched the surface in terms of data security. So if you are interested in learning more, there is a session later today at 2:05, and it does a deep dive into data security. And it's led by our Director of Information Security, Heidi Martin. So go check that out. All right. So moving on through Jeff's wish list here. He wants to make sure that everyone in the firm has access to Clio while on the go. There are two components that we can set up to help him out with this. The first is making sure that he's downloaded the mobile app, as well as everyone else in his firm, and as well as set up a calendar sync for Office 365 or Google. We do have both. So if we start off with the mobile app, there are 3 of them. One for the iPhone, one for the iPad, and one for Android as well. It's completely free, and you can download it from the App Store. If it's an Android, it's Play Store. If it's an iOS, and if it's, of course, the Apple Store. And it's very similar to the web app that all of you are used to. The difference is with regards to billing. So you can view bills on the app, but you can't run bills or record payment on the app. So watch for that. But Jeff, in particular, is very excited about the mobile app because it will allow him to track his time while on the go. So do make sure you download that. Second setup feature we have for Jeff here is a calendar sync. So as I mentioned, we do have both Office 365 and Google, but Jeff's firm is using Google. So the setup instructions that we're about to go through are for Google, but just note that they're the exact same for Office 365. So to set this up, let's click on Contact and Calendar Sync from within the Settings tab. And then we can see here we've got 2 options. The first, of course, is for Google. Underneath is Office 365. As I mentioned, let's click on Setup Sync next to Google. And once you do that, you'll be prompted to log in with your Google credentials. And then you'll see a screenshot that looks a little something like this. So from here, you see a contact sync and a calendar sync. Let's ignore the contact sync for now. And underneath where it says calendar sync, we've got 2 options. You see Jeff's name there. That means it's his personal calendar. And underneath where it says firm, that's referring to a firm calendar. So that's a shared calendar amongst all the users in the firm. Only the Clio account owner has the ability to sync the firm calendar. So if you're wondering right now why you don't see that firm calendar option, that's because you're not the Clio account owner. So for Jeff, let's just set up his personal calendar sync. You just click on that blue button next to that says sync. And then from there, you'll see a screenshot that looks a little something like this. So this part is really important because we do have 2 options. If you've got a brand new Google account, then I recommend the option on the left. That will create a new calendar in Google, and it's an empty calendar, and it'll sync to that. But if you're already using Google, then we do want that second option, and that's what we'll do for Jeff, because that will link to your existing Google Calendar. So if you forget these setup steps when the time comes, don't worry, just come see me later, I'll help you out, or you can always give our support team a call as well. All right, so we're going to take a quick pause here because we know we just went through a lot of different features, and we want to make sure that we can take a little bit of a breather here. So we've set up default billing rates. We've set up custom fields and custom field sets. We've enforced strong passwords, and we've set up two-factor authentication, and then we've also enabled Clio on the go as well. So as we're going through here, we encourage all of you to think about how you could take some of these features and bring them back to your firm. Whether you're an administrator or not, that's okay. You can always just ask the Clio administrator in your firm to help you out.
Awesome. So we've gone through a lot, but we're definitely not done with Jeff's list yet. So the next thing that he wants to do is streamline the data entry process. So when he's creating time entries, he's finding he's typing in the same thing over and over again. So we're going to help make him a bit more efficient by using something called text snippets in Clio. So he's finding that he's always typing in review prenuptial agreements. So let's help him make a bit more efficient using a shorthand statement. So that's essentially what text snippets are. If you type in a shorthand statement, Clio will populate the rest of the statement for you. So let's go from our main settings tab over to text snippets and help him set one up for reviewing prenuptial agreements. So from within our tab there, we can see that there's lots of defaults that Clio has set up for you, but these are quite specific to each user. So let's go and add one new for Jeff. So from our right-hand side, we can click on Add. And then let's think of some kind of shorthand statement that would work for reviewing prenuptial agreements. PNUP makes sense. So let's type in PNUP. Underneath, we want to type in the full statement, so review prenuptial agreement. And then once we've typed that in, you can see there's a box underneath that says whole word. For something like PNUP, we're not going to find that's the beginning to too many other words. But if you are creating a text snippet that's maybe TEL for telephone call with clients, you're just going to want to click that box, which will enforce you to actually use the space bar after typing in the statement. But we don't need to worry about that unless any of you can think of a word that starts with PNUP. So we're going to leave that unchecked and press Save. So we're going to show you this in action. This is my favorite thing within Clio, because it's kind of like Clio's version of a little magic trick, our version of autocorrect, but it's going to get you in a lot less trouble. So from our Global Create button on the top right-hand corner, we're going to go in and find a time entry. And then in our description box, we're going to type in our text snippet, so PNUP. You can see as soon as we've typed in P, that pre-populates the rest of that statement for you, which again, I think is awesome, going to save Jeff a lot of time. We know he's pretty excited about this. So now Jeff's pretty happy. This will make his life a lot easier, make him a lot more efficient when he's adding these time entries. And great question, you can use numbers as well. So next thing on Jeff's list, there we go. So Jeff wants to pull reports based on the unique practice areas of his firm to get better visibility into what's actually happening in the firm and each of these areas' performance. So we're going to set up something called practice areas for Jeff. So from our main settings tab, if we go over to the section that says practice and click on that, we're going to go into practice areas. Again, there's lots of default options that Clio has for you, but Jeff's not going to need all of these. Being a family law firm doesn't need things like bankruptcy, a couple other options on there. So he can delete these as he wants to, but let's add a practice area for Jeff that he's going to use. So let's add divorce for him. So we just go over to the right-hand side, press Add, simply type in divorce. And then once we press Save, that will give him the option to select the practice area when he's creating a matter, which seems really simple, but we're going to show you how it's really easy to pull reports and filters based on that information so he doesn't have to search through a whole list of matters later on. So the next thing that Jeff wants to do is easily identify each matter at first glance to save time when going through searching different matters, as well as add a bit of consistency to his data entry process. So we're going to use something called matter numbering within Clio for this. So Clio does have a default that it gives you, which is the client last name, number, as well as the client last name. But Jeff wants to add a little bit more information just so we can, again, find things a little bit faster. So let's help him set this up. From our main settings tab, we go over to, again, practice. This time we're going to click on matter numbering. Now you can see that default that I was talking about, that number as well as the client last name. But it's really easy to add additional information. We're just going to add a little dash just to make it a little bit cleaner on the right-hand side. And then if we go back over to the left-hand side, you can see a couple of drop-downs. The second drop-down, Clio will give you an option to add additional information. Let's add the year 2 digits for Jeff, which is the year that the matter was created. And then if we press Add, and then Update Settings, that will ensure that all matters created going forward will reflect this information.
What if you've got existing matters in Clio already? Can you retroactively update the matter numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you scroll back over to the left-hand side here, you see a little checkbox. If you check that off beside update all existing matters to reflect the new numbering scheme, that'll do exactly that. Rename all of your matters in here. One word of warning with numberings, they are not easily able to undo some of the settings in here. So don't go around playing your Clio account, start updating things, thinking that you can press undo. So just be sure that you're happy with your numbering scheme before you update this area. But Jeff's pretty happy with it. So moving on through the list here. So now we're going to talk a little bit about billing in Clio. Obviously, one of the things that's really important for anybody in this room. So Jeff wants to set up custom payment terms for his clients. He's finding that he has two different clients. One maybe you're a little bit less familiar with, the client who pays a little bit early. Probably a lot less familiar with. But Jeff has a couple of these clients, so he wants to set up a custom payment profile for them to give them a little bit of a discount on their bill. The other type of client you're probably very familiar with. Anybody have a client that pays late? Anybody in the room? I'm sure lots of you.
Gentleman in the front row was like, yep.
So Jeff can set up a payment profile for those clients as well that will add an automatic interest to their account. So let's help him set this up. So from our settings tab, if we go over to billing, we can go into payment profiles. So Clio will have a default already in it that has no interest or no discount, which will be applied to most of your clients that are within Clio. But we also set something up for him that will apply interest if they pay late. That will apply an 18% annual interest, which is just 1.5% monthly. We've also set up a payment profile for discount. So any of those rare clients, you want to keep them paying early, you can give them a 10% discount for paying within the 30-day grace period. So now that we set this up, this is really easy for Jeff. Once he's got a client, he can attach this to their client card, and this payment profile will be reflected going forward. Okay, so you probably have all read this already, but a bit of a troubling fact for Jeff. He read that law firms only actually collect 85% of the hours that they bill, which means that 15% is actually going uncollected. So thinking about that, Jeff was trying to come up with options to increase his collection rate. And he read, and you all probably heard this morning, that you can actually get paid 39% faster if you give your clients the ability to pay online by credit card. Obviously, Jeff wants to set this up. So we can use something called Clio Payments, which is powered by LawPay, to help him with this, being able to get paid a little bit faster, increase that collection rate. And this is really easy to set this up. This is available in our boutique and our elite plans. So if you don't see this in your account, you might be on starter, just come talk to us after, and we can get you upgraded if you're interested. So from within our settings tab here, we go over to online payments. Here you're going to have two options. Either sign in with your existing LawPay account. If you do already have one, easy to do. If you don't, no problem. There's an option to create an account here. This will enable your clients to easily pay online by credit card, getting you paid that 39% faster.
This seems too good to be true, though. Is it really that easy?
It actually is. So when you want to go and share a bill with your clients, you simply press share. This sends them a link to their email. They're going to get an email that looks like this, and then all they're going to have to do is pay online now, put in their credit card details. That's going to get you paid directly into your Clio account reflected, as well as your bank account. Now, you're probably thinking, fees, maybe? What are the fees for this? They're actually really favorable, so you're not getting gouged on fees either. It's 1.95% for your standard cards, or 2.95% for your specialty cards, and then a 20-cent per transaction fee as well. So quite favorable in terms of industry. If that wasn't your question, maybe just wait till the end, and then we'll answer anything else you have.
Are there any fees that LawPay charges?
Sorry?
Are there any fees that LawPay charges?
No. So typically, if you just have a LawPay account, you'd have to pay $20 per month for that, but that's actually built into your subscription with Clio. So we do cover that for you. Making Jeff pretty happy. So we're going to take a second again, roll your shoulders, think about all the information that we just went through. Lots of new things for all of you today, especially with a lot of new accounts here. So we set up practice areas, we went through matter numbering, we went through bill themes, set up some custom payment profiles, and then finished off with Clio payments. So hopefully you're starting to see some of the value that you're getting out of doing all of this up front. Now I'm going to send you back over with Nadia.
Okay, so we are all done with the settings tab, but we're not done with settings yet. There is an item on Jeff's wish list that pertain to matter settings. So what he's looking to do is view important information on the matter level so that he can report on this information later on. There's 3 key fields at the matter level that we want to make sure he's setting up appropriately. So let's click over to the main matters tab from the black bar on the left-hand side there. And this will pull up a list of all the matters in the firm. So let's just select the first matter there at the very top. We can click on Edit right next to it. This takes you to the Edit Matter page, of course, but if you were to create a new matter, the page would look the exact same. So there's a number of different fields here, but as I mentioned, there's 3 in particular that we want to look at. The first, on the left-hand side there, it says Responsible Attorney. We can see that April is already filled out, which is great. And underneath Originating Attorney, we see Ashley as well. So Jeff's done a great job here. He's filled out those 2 fields. It's super important to always fill out these fields if at all possible, because Clio uses these fields for reporting. And then it will allow the attorneys in the firm to filter their cases by this information later on.
So a question that we're probably, maybe all of you having, is what's the difference between responsible or originating attorney?
Good question. So responsible attorney is the individual doing the majority of the work on the case, and the originating attorney is the individual who brought the business into the firm. There's one other field here. If we look to the right-hand side where it says practice area, we've already selected divorce here. So good thing we set it up for Jeff earlier. This is where it comes into play. As Bronwyn mentioned earlier, you can pull reports based off of this information. And so we do recommend customizing those practice areas with reporting in mind. So you can pull, let's say, a revenue report later on and compare how much revenue certain types of cases are bringing in versus others. So Jeff's done a good job. Pretty happy with that. Next up here, we've got activity settings. So activities are referring to time and expense entries, and there's one item on Jeff's wish list here that he needs help with. He's looking to set up a consistent description of commonly performed time entries in the firm. This will allow for consistency across the firm, but also it will speed up the data entry process as well. What we can do here is set up a feature called activity categories for Jeff, and it will solve for exactly that. It allows you to create a time entry in advance that can be pulled from a drop-down when you're creating that time entry. So it allows for consistency and it speeds up the process. To set up those activity categories, let's click on the Activities tab in black on the left-hand side. And then from here, there's a white button on the very right that says Activity Categories. So the idea here is you create an activity category for anything that goes on a bill quite often. For Jeff, that means a phone call. So let's click Add after we click on Activity, yes, blue button, and let's go ahead and type in phone call. Underneath, in that drop-down where it says Billing Method, we see 3 options. So for Jeff, we'll leave it at user default rate, which is the hourly default rate that we set up earlier in the session, but we do have custom hourly rates and flat rate options as well. So let's leave that first option for Jeff, and we can go ahead and click on Save. So from here, let's see this activity category in action. Let's click on that Global Create button on the top right, and we can add a new time entry. On the left-hand side there where it says Activity Category, now we can see our phone call as well as a whole bunch of other options here. So let's click on Save Entry. But we do need a matter, duration, all of the things. Beautiful. Okay, and so from here, you can go one step further. Let's click on the Activities tab on the left-hand side. This is where the data consistency comes into play because you can filter based on these activity categories. So let's say, for example, you wanted to pull a report or gain some insight into how much time you spent on phone calls for the month, just as an example. Let's head to the right-hand side where it says Filters. And you can filter by user as well. We can just leave, let's say all users actually, how about that? And then underneath where it says category, now you can filter by activity category. So let's select phone call. And from here, we do want to adjust a date range. So let's head to that white drop down there and select this month. This is now pulling a report of all of the phone calls incurred by all of the firm members for the month. So this is what it means by data consistency. We do recommend setting these up in advance. They can be set up by anyone, but it's best if the administrator just sort of sets the stage for the firm as well. All right, on to reporting.
So Jeff knows that running a law firm is as much about running a business as it is about managing cases. What that means to him is using real firm data to make educated business decisions. Now, Nadia just took us through an example of how we can filter through activity categories to get better visibility into what's happening in the firm, where people are spending their hours, and where most of the billable hours are coming in terms of activities. But you can also think of things like filtering out custom fields to look at old cases to help with new cases. You can pull reports based on those originating attorney or responsible attorney to actually pay the people in your firm appropriately. So let's go through those two examples for Jeff. So does anybody remember the custom fields we set up about 30 minutes ago? Yep, good. We still got everybody. So one of them was divorce cases that have children involved. Now, Jeff wants to pull a report of all of these cases because he knows that there are some tricky things with custody cases. So he wants to review what procedures he followed in previous cases to help with new ones. Because we've set this up, a really easy report for Jeff to pull. So if we go into our Matters section on the left-hand side, there's another option for us to filter, like Nadia did with activity categories. So if you go to the right-hand side, we're actually going to filter by two different areas. So we're going to first filter by practice area, click on our divorce cases. Again, starting to see a lot more value of actually setting this stuff up now that we're actually going back and reviewing it. And then the next area is custom field. So we set up that has children custom field earlier. So now we're going to go ahead and select that. And then we're going to apply that. And that's going to run a report for all of the divorce cases with children involved. So this will make it a lot easier for Jeff to get insight into old cases. He can export this information as well. So if he does want a version where he can edit it or also print it out, he does have that option by just clicking on the export button. It'll give you your two options here. So PDF or CSV, printing out, go for PDF. If you do want to actually edit this information, you can create a CSV file, which is just an Excel file. So this will help Jeff going forward with any new cases with divorce and have children involved. Another example, we're actually going to go into a Reports tab within Clio. So if we go over to Reports, you're going to see a list of a lot of different reports here. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and go into our fee allocation report. Now remember when we set up that originating and responsible attorney section in our matter, this is where this is going to come back into play. So we can run this report based on that information because within Jeff's firm, that's how the attorneys are getting paid, based on what cases they're bringing in, as well as the cases he's being worked on. We're not going to run this report for you because reporting is a whole thing in and of itself. So we've got two sessions later today, starting at 2:30, that will go through kind of the beginner exports and filters, and then go right into advanced reporting. So I suggest heading to there. We just don't want to go through all of the clicks today because you probably don't want to see them. But if you do, head over to those sessions later. So we've gone through so much today. Jeff had a huge list of everything that he wanted us to take him through, but we've done it all. We've gone through everything from setting up default billing rates so your rates don't show up as zero. We've gone through custom fields and field sets to capture that important information for your firm. We've gone through setting up security, which is, simple, might be a pain in the butt, but really, really worth it later on. Gone through the mobile app, calendar syncs to make sure all of your information is accurate, gone through the little magic of text snippets, gone through setting up practice areas, matter numbering, bill themes, payment profiles, Clio payments, and finally touched on reports. Everything we did today was to help Jeff meet his goal of ensuring that the attorneys at his firm are spending the most possible time on billable hours, ensuring that he's giving that time back to what's important to him. So to end off our day, I'm going to send you all out here. I'm going to challenge you all, when you get back to the office Tuesday, later in the week if you're lucky enough to spend a bit of time here, when you're working on something, think about it. Can I bill for this? If not, is there anything that you learned today or throughout the weekend that you can use in Clio to give you back that time to spend on billable work and really what's important to you, which is practicing law?
So thanks everyone for coming to our session today, and hope you enjoyed it.